Happy to welcome back to the show the Texas head football coach, Steve Sarkisian. Sark and the Longhorns have a big one Saturday at noon in Ann Arbor against Michigan. Game day will be there in advance of the noon game you can see on Fox. Sark, I know it's a really busy week. I'm sure you'd rather be doing a little film work, but I'm grateful for you spending a little time with us on our show tonight.
Well, Scott, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's awesome. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Last year's, your guys go down to Tuscaloosa week 2. And you beat Alabama. And I understand that the team isn't all the same, but there's certainly enough carryover that I wonder, how much does that translate? How much does a week 2 road game against a big-time opponent in a huge atmosphere sort of stay in the DNA and come with you as you head north to Ann Arbor?
I think it's helpful. We've got 46 guys, I was counting today, that were on that trip with us last year that'll be with us this year in Ann Arbor. And I think it goes to the preparation side of it. What does it take, not only from a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint, from a camaraderie standpoint? You got to have the ability to play as a team, and you get in these types of environments, and it's going to have to take a team effort Saturday.
That was a night game down in T-Town. They're playing Dixieland Delight and all that stuff. It's a noon game in Ann Arbor, which I'm not saying it won't be a hyped atmosphere. I'm sure it will be. But I'm guessing if I'm playing a game like this, I'd rather kick it at noon. Does it have any impact at all in terms of how you look at it?
It doesn't. I think of it like from this perspective. When you really think about this, this is the first time in the regular season of all of the history of college football that Texas has played Michigan in the regular season.
That's nuts.
And only the second time, check this out, only the second time in the history of the school's history of ever playing one another. The other time was the 2005 Rose Bowl. So I don't think it really matters what time we kick off. I just think it's going to be a great environment. It's going to be a great day for college football.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, these are some of the biggest of big boy programs, and they're sharing the field for 60 minutes, so that's great fun. In the big picture, Sark, for you guys, this is just one of a rugged schedule as you transition to the SEC. A lot was made of the fact you got to play Georgia after you play OU, and obviously that's one of the great rivalry games each year in the Red River Showdown. But in terms of how you're looking at the totality of your schedule from week 1 till as far as it goes, does being in the SEC at all impact what you're trying to do week to week and how you go about it?
No, it really doesn't. We feel like we built a roster and a team that has great depth, that's got physicality, that's got size, that has speed, that we can go compete in the SEC. But I also really value these games early in the season because I do think these types of games serve as a really good barometer for us of kind of where we're at, what we need to do to continue to move forward. Naturally, we'd love to come out victorious Saturday, but this game's not going to define us either. We could come out on top, and we still got a bunch of football to go left to be played. We could not find a way to win, and that doesn't mean that the season's at a loss. We got to get back on the horse and continue to ride and get into that Southeastern Conference schedule. But I think the beauty of it all is now with the 12-team college football playoff, you're not really going to get punished for playing these types of games anymore. And I think it's going to be great for the sport as we move forward that I think more people are going to schedule these types of games early in the season.
That makes a ton of sense. Just like basketball, right? You always see the big-time basketball teams play each other early because it's not like losing is going to be an eliminator. You're going to have plenty of runway to get where you want to go. In the big picture from you guys, in terms of where your program is and where you're trying to go, you take a massive step last year. Clearly, you get back to a playoff. And now there's really only one more rung on the ladder. But oftentimes in life, Sark, that last rung's the hardest one, right? Because there's so little room to get better. What's that process like for you, day to day, week to week, in terms of getting from where you are to where you want to get?
Well, I try not to forget where we came from, right? And what it took to get to the point where we're at now. And that's building this culture that we've created. That's recruiting the types of players that we've recruited, not only the physical attributes, but the character that they possess. That's developing the leadership on our team. That's having staff continuity. We've got the same coordinators on our staff since the day we've arrived. So I think all those things we want to continue to build upon. But you're spot on. Scott, I've been in that national championship game 4 times. I've won 2 and I've lost 2. And to get to the pinnacle of our sport, that final climb, that final rung is the most difficult one. But I think if you can, stay true to who you are, continue to find the areas of where you can improve, and find a way to lean into your culture to win some of those tight games that you're going to have to win, right? That nobody goes through a season unscathed where they don't have to win, close ball games. And so we're going to have to do that as well this season. I think that's where our culture's really got to kick in.
You used that word a number of times, and I wrote it down and underlined it, culture. It's a buzzword in the sport. But I wonder in the age of portal and NIL how hard you have to work to protect it. I was talking to Coach Locks at Maryland, who I know you know well, and he was talking about you want to get guys that are difference makers, right? And no one's going to be able to outspend the pockets at Texas. But how do you balance, Sark, bringing in somebody? Because, these are young people, right? And if somebody gets this amount and then somebody that's been there is like, well, I only got that. That's a whole new thing to manage with young people. They're not pros in a sense, but in another way they kind of are. So what I'm asking is how do you keep the balance of culture with the new era where we are clearly all in?
Well, we pour into it. We do weekly activities, that are dedicated to culture building. And we do that for the entire summer of June and July. We do it all season long throughout training camp. We do a culture activity every Friday. And we just try to get players engaged with one another. We try to get them to know one another. We try to get them to have some empathy for one another. And really what we're trying to create is a sense of love and connection. Because I think that, love is the most powerful tool that we have. And to your point, in this day and age of transactional sport, of NIL and transfers and so on and so forth, and if we can do something uniquely different than most and create love in an environment in our team room and in our locker room and in our culture, then that to me, that is one of the most powerful things that we have going for us. And so we don't back off of it. We're probably really bullish about it. And I appreciate the guys on our team, the leaders on our team, for the way that they've not only adopted it and bought into the idea of culture, but in my opinion, they've elevated. Our culture is better than I could have ever imagined, and super grateful for those guys for the time and effort that they're spending on it.
Everything you're saying has value and it matters, and I buy into it as well. But ultimately, what your fan base would love is they'd love a dub on Saturday in Ann Arbor, and I know that you and your guys heading north would love that every bit as much. Sark, great to visit with you, and I hope somewhere down the road this year or wherever we can do it again. All right.
You too, Scott. Appreciate you guys. Hook 'em.